There comes a time in every life when the soul cries out not for success, not for riches, not for power, but for help, a time when the weight of pain presses so heavily upon the chest that one can barely breathe. When life doesn't ask for your permission to be hard, it just is. When prayers feel like whispers into a void, and your strength seems no match for the size of the storm. But it is in that moment, right there, when you are on your knees, crushed, confused, and crying, that God steps in, not always to take you out of the difficulty, but to walk with you through it. Many people believe that faith is a feeling. They think it is the sense of peace that comes when everything is working out, but real faith is what shows up when everything is falling apart. Real faith is what you hold on to when you can't see anything ahead, when your bank account is empty, your heart is broken, your body is weak, and your dreams are buried under the rubble of disappointment. Faith is not loud. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it's the quiet voice that says, "Keep going." Sometimes it's the tear that falls while your hands are still lifted. Sometimes it's the shaky breath you take as you put one foot in front of the other, trusting that God is doing something even when you can't feel it. Understand this: God never promised that life would be easy, but He promised you wouldn't be alone. And there is nothing more powerful in this life than knowing you are not walking alone through your pain. No trial, no tragedy, no hardship is wasted when you walk through it with God. He uses everything, even your suffering, as a part of your preparation. Some of the greatest moments in your life will be born from the very valleys you begged to escape. The pain that was meant to break you will be the pain that makes you. The tears you cried will water the seeds of greatness God has planted in you. There is no testimony without a test, and there is no victory without a battle. You must understand that your difficult seasons are not evidence of God's absence. They are proof of His trust. He trusted you with trouble. He trusted you with a weight most people would collapse under. Why? Because He has placed something within you that the world needs, and sometimes that thing only emerges in the furnace of adversity. When life knocks you down, don't you dare stay there. Don't you let the enemy convince you that it's over. God didn't bring you this far to leave you in defeat. You must rise, even if you rise slowly. You must speak life, even if your voice trembles. You must keep believing, even when it makes no sense to the natural mind, because faith isn't built in comfort, it's built in crisis. Strength isn't formed in ease, it's forged in fire. And the most beautiful parts of you, the wisest, the strongest, the most compassionate and powerful parts of you, are usually the parts born out of your darkest moments. I want you to look back at your life for a moment. Think about the times you didn't know how you would make it, the times you were sure you wouldn't survive, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the disappointments, the sickness, the loss, the silent nights when no one knew what you were going through. But you're here, you survived, and that's not luck, that's not coincidence, that's divine grace, that's God. He was with you when the door slammed in your face. He was with you when the people you trusted the most walked away. He was with you when your strength gave out and you had nothing left, and He's with you now. You don't have to feel Him to know He's present. You just have to trust. Trust that He's leading you even when the path is invisible. Trust that He's working all things together for your good, even the parts that don't feel good. Life's most difficult times will either break you or build you. But when you walk with God, they build you. They stretch your capacity, they deepen your compassion, they increase your wisdom. They teach you how to love others in pain. They give you a testimony, and not just any testimony, but a testimony soaked in truth, courage, and supernatural resilience. God uses difficulty to separate what's real from what's fake. He uses hardship to burn away the distractions. He uses trials to reveal your purpose. You think the problem is the pain, but the pain is just the passage. The real gift is who you become on the other side, and I'll tell you something. The reason your battle has been so intense is because your destiny is so great. The enemy doesn't attack what he isn't threatened by. Your resistance is proof of your relevance. Your struggle is evidence of your significance. If you weren't carrying something powerful inside of you, You wouldn't be facing what you're facing. So stop asking, why me? And start declaring, why not me? I am chosen for this. I am being refined in this. I am being equipped by this. My future is being shaped by this. God is not punishing me. He is preparing me, and I will not let my pain go to waste. I will use it. I will grow from it. I will rise through it. If you want to see how strong your faith really is, don't look at how you worship in the light. Look at how you stand in the dark. Can you still praise when the promise hasn't come? Can you still trust when the answer is delayed? Can you still believe when all you see is dust? Because here's what I know: God does some of his best work in the dark. Seeds grow in darkness, diamonds form in pressure. And miracles, they're born when human strength runs out. God waits for you to reach the end of yourself, not to shame you, but to show you what he can do, not by your strength, not by your power, but by his Spirit. And when he shows up, he shows out not halfway, not in small measures, but in ways that make it undeniable that it was him all along. He opens doors no man can shut. He brings beauty from ashes. He takes what was meant to harm you and turns it for your good. So I urge you, don't give up in the storm. Don't walk away in the valley. Don't curse the pain before you see what it's producing. God is not done with you yet. He's just getting started, and the very thing you thought would destroy you is going to be the thing that delivers you. You see, the struggle you're in today is creating the strength you'll need tomorrow. The tears you cry today will be the rivers of compassion you extend to others. The battle you fight in private will become the victory you celebrate in public. And one day, yes, one day, you'll look back and realize that the pain was not the end, but the beginning of a version of you that was stronger, wiser, deeper, and more powerful than ever before. So take heart, be still, know that he is God, he is faithful, he is near, and he is carrying you, not just through this difficulty, but into your destiny. And when it's all said and done, when the dust has settled and the story is told, they won't remember you for how easy your life was. They'll remember you for how unshakable your faith was. They'll say you were a warrior. They'll say you walked through fire and didn't burn. They'll say you trusted God when nothing made sense, and they'll be right. Because you didn't give up when it was hard. You didn't walk away when it was painful. You didn't let go when everything in you wanted to. You held on, and he held you. That's how God gets you through life's most difficult times. One breath, one step, one miracle at a time. And when the silence lingers longer than you expected, when heaven feels quiet and your prayers seem unanswered, remember, delay is not denial. Just because you haven't seen the break through yet doesn't mean it isn't on the way. God's timing is not based on your impatience. His delays are deliberate. He waits until the conditions are just right, when your heart is prepared, when the people you need are in place, and when the situation is ripe for his glory to be revealed. You might not be able to trace his hand, but you can trust his heart. That's the essence of spiritual maturity, not getting what you want when you want it, but trusting in who holds your future even when the present is painful. It's in those uncertain spaces where true growth happens. When you wake up and you're still in the same trial, but you choose to believe anyway. When you feel like quitting, but you take another step forward. That is power, that is purpose. Let me tell you something most people won't admit. There's a kind of grace that only pain can unlock. There's a level of understanding, compassion, and clarity that only arrives after life has humbled you. After it's knocked the wind out of your lungs, after it's taken everything you thought you needed and left you with nothing but God, and that, my friend, is where the greatest strength is born, not in having everything, but in realizing you never needed anything but him. We live in a world that glorifies ease and comfort, that equates blessing with abundance and struggle with punishment. But that's a shallow understanding. Some of the most blessed people in history have been the most broken. They've carried burdens the world never saw, and yet they changed the world, not in spite of their pain, but because of it. Because God doesn't waste wounds, he transforms them. That's why when people ask how you made it, you'll have to say, "It wasn't me." You'll have to say, "There were days I didn't want to get out of bed, days I didn't want to live, days I lost hope, but something inside me kept fighting. Something greater than me wouldn't let me quit. That something was divine. That something was holy. That something was the whisper of God saying, 'I'm not finished with you yet.' And if he's not finished with you, then neither is the story. You are still being written. This chapter may be dark, but the author has already planned your ending, and it's good. There's joy up ahead. There's peace ahead. There's purpose coming from this, and not only for you, but for those connected to you. Your breakthrough is going to bless people you've never even met. Your survival is someone else's instruction manual. Your scars are going to speak to others in silence. That's why you can't afford to give up. That's why you have to hold on, not just for yourself, but for every life your testimony will touch. What you're going through is bigger than you. It's divine strategy, it's training, it's transformation, and though it may be heavy now, it won't always be. There will be a moment when you look back and say, "I didn't understand it then, but I'm grateful for it now." Because pain will teach you what comfort never could. It will show you what matters. It will clear the clutter. It will silence the noise, and it will bring you to your knees, not in defeat, but in surrender. The kind of surrender that gives God full access. The kind of surrender that says, "Do what you want with me. I trust you more than I trust myself." And when you give him that kind of trust, when you truly hand over the wheel, something supernatural begins to happen. He begins to redeem time. He begins to restore things that were lost. He begins to accelerate healing, align opportunities, and bring the right people into your life. Not by your force, but by his favor. But it always starts in the wilderness. It always starts in the dry place, because that's where the noise of the world is quiet enough for you to finally hear the still small voice inside. That's where ego dies and dependence on God is born. That's where you stop leaning on your own understanding and start walking by faith. And make no mistake, walking by faith isn't always majestic. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it means crying in your car, praying through your pain, showing up when you're empty, smiling when you're broken, and doing the right thing when it feels like it's not working. That is what heaven applauds. That is what moves the heart of God, not performance, but perseverance. So if all you did today was keep going, you've already won. If all you did was take one more step despite the wait, you've already succeeded. Because heaven doesn't measure victory the way the world does. Heaven honors obedience, not outcomes, and when you obey, even when it's hard, you unlock doors you never imagined, and those doors don't just lead to blessings, they lead to transformation. To a version of you that's rooted, grounded, and unshakable, to a you that doesn't break under pressure but becomes pressure-proof, because once you've seen what God can do in the fire, you stop fearing it. You stop running from trials and start walking through them with boldness. You start realizing that if he brought you through that, he can bring you through this, and suddenly your perspective shifts. You start praising in the middle, not just at the end. You start worshiping while it's still raining. You start speaking life before the outcome changes, and that's when the real miracles begin. That's when heaven moves. Because God responds to faith, not fear, not panic, not complaining, but raw, real, audacious faith. The kind that looks hell in the eye and says, "I still believe," and that kind of faith, it moves mountains. It opens prisons, it parts seas, it breaks chains, it restores families, it heals bodies, it revives dreams, and most of all, it sustains you through the darkest, loneliest, most painful seasons of your life. And just when you think you can't take another step, just when you're convinced it's over, just when you're ready to throw in the towel, he steps in, not early, not late, but right on time, always. So if you're standing in the middle of the storm right now, if life has pushed you to your limit, if you're exhausted from holding it together, if you feel like you've lost more than you've gained, hear me loud and clear. This is not your ending. This is your awakening. You were not created to crumble under pressure. You were not chosen just to be broken. You were chosen to rise, to endure, to conquer, and not by your own might, but through the strength of the one who breathed life into you. The same God who walked with Moses through the Red Sea, who stood with Daniel in the lion's den, who lifted Joseph from the pit to the palace. He is walking with you now. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to keep moving. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to trust the one who's leading, even if your steps are small, even if your voice shakes when you speak life over yourself. Even if your hands tremble when you lift them in surrender, do it anyway. That is courage, that is faith, that is the fuel for miracles. This isn't the time to retreat. This is the time to stand up and fight. Not with your fists, but with your faith. Not with your anger, but with your authority, because you were not created to live a life of defeat. You were born with purpose, designed with destiny, anointed with divine strength. And the same God who carried you this far, He's not going to drop you now. So lift your head, straighten your spine, dry your tears, and step forward like someone who knows that heaven is backing them. Because it is. The pain you're walking through today is the platform God will use to elevate you tomorrow. Let the world wonder how you're still standing. Let them question how you're still smiling. Let them ask where your strength comes from. And when they do, you'll know the truth. It was never me. It was always God.